Hi, this is Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that spotlights the stars of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So sit back, relax, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. Well, it is author time once again on the Someone You Should Know podcast. The lovely lady that I have on today happens to be a former listener of mine on Rock 106.5 and 96.7 The Eagle in LaPorte. She writes heartfelt pieces of poetry to inspire others. She's Tammy Spears. Tammy, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much, Rick. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
I mentioned the fact that I am not a huge fan of poetry when I was in high school, but your book called Flutter of an Eye has won me back, albeit 45 years later. And I read that this collection of poems was inspired by the loss of your mom in 2007. Like you, I lost my parents. I lost my dad in 2001, and I lost my mom in 1994. I also lost my wife of 40 years in 2018. Can you tell us how this all came together to inspire those who have lost a loved one?
Yes. When my mom passed, she was the foundation of our family, and she was the most loving, giving, caring mom you'd ever want to know. We all say that about our parents, but she really, truly was. She thought of everybody else first before herself. And I just kept writing poetry in her memory since she passed in '07, and I was submitting it to the local newspaper. And on the 10th year of her anniversary, the good Lord above gave me a little nudge and said, "You're writing, you can do this." And from then on, the poetry flowed. And kid you not, the first book came, and I actually have material for the second book that's going to be called Fluttering On as well, meaning that Flutter of an Eye is fluttering on within us, meaning our mother is fluttering on within us, and we're fluttering on without her.
Awesome. Very good. The book says it reflects on the last two stages of the grieving process, depression and acceptance. Speaking from experience, any stage of the grieving process is difficult, especially acceptance. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's like coming to grips with that they're not coming back. So taking all of the memories that you cherished of the loved one and putting them all together and writing about those experiences and sharing them with others and hoping that it helps them with their process as well. And
one thing that I learned, and this is I went through several of these grieving acceptance groups and such, is the grieving process is not a linear thing. You can just go back, left and right. It's really hard to get through the whole process. As it was, it took me a good 4 years or so to. I'm never over the loss of my wife, but. Coming to the acceptance of it took I'd say about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's not a fast, and it has their own time frame, but it definitely is a very long process. And like you said, even to this day, my mom will be gone 16 years come October this year, and it's still, if I go back to that last day, it's still, you know what I'm speaking of. When you go back to that time frame and know when they were here their last day, it brings it all back. So
one of the struggles for me is when I go back to Facebook and I have those reminders, hey, a Facebook memory type thing, and it's like, oh gosh, what a horrible time I went through, a horrible time.
That's actually what made me reach out to you, because when you were interviewed on the radio right before you left, and you told the story of your wife, and my husband and I looked at each other. I thought, I'm going to reach out to him and see if he might be interested, because I figured you might. So hopefully this has helped you in some small way, if anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. We all got to work together to get through this grieving process, for sure.
Right.
Now, since this book is about poetry, I would like for you to go ahead and pick a poem, any of your choice. Just share one with us to kind of give us a little insight to what the book's going to be like.
Okay, I'm going to start out with the word poetry. I've actually written a poem called Poetry.
All right.
Poetry comes from deep within. That is where the story begins. Poetry is a form of art that touches your heart and soul right from the start. Whether spoken, written, or in a song, poetry brings you in and takes you along.
Wonderful. Very good. It's a nice little light thing that basically is a good inspiration. It's a little something to carry us through the day. Were you a fan of poetry in high school?
I don't think I was. My writing began probably 20 years ago. I worked in the courthouse, and I worked in the recorder's office, and the recorder allowed me and gave me a lot of opportunities, and I was in clubs and actually wrote articles for the paper for the clubs as well. I was also in the Youth Service Bureau, and so on the board there. So that's where I think my start began, was back when I was on in those organizations.
Well, when this started to flow 10 years or so ago, well, actually, it was actually around the time of your mom's loss and such, did you have a favorite poet? Is there a favorite poet that comes to mind?
Honestly, there's not one favorite. It's just, I guess music probably is more of a link to this than anything. I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I'm a big country fan, so I listen to country music, and in all honesty, country songs are all rhymes. So that's where I think my connection came from.
Awesome, very good. Let's feature one more poem here. What have you got in mind? What's our next little ensemble in our entree of goodies here tonight?
Well, I got to dedicate this one to my mother,
Okay.
who this is where this came from. So the poem is also the title of the book, and it's called Flutter of an Eye.
Okay.
The flutter of your eye on the day you passed away reminds us of a butterfly as it gently flies away. And as we see the grazing deer, we know that you are near. We long to hear your voice and see your smile again. And we know we will again someday, and we'll hold on to the memories until then. We will always remember that day and the flutter of your eye as you drifted away, sending our everlasting love and hugs up to you. And we want you to know we are thinking of you.
Wow, that is really nice. And, I'm going to share something with you. On the day after, well, actually, it was the day that my wife passed. It happened to be my birthday in 2018 to make it even more difficult. My daughter and I were having a cup of coffee on the patio, and I just started writing. I'm going to share it with you. I won't share it on the show, but I will share it with you. It's a little inspiration that was actually a little part of our remembrance that we had for my wife. She had so many family and friends that we actually had two, what you would call a celebration of life ceremonies. We had one down in Rolla, Missouri, where I was at the time on the radio, and then also up in Valparaiso for family and friends up here in Northwest Indiana. But it just came flowing out of me. So I guess the next question I wanted to ask you is, in your writing process, does it just come to you, or do you take a time to actually open up your mind and your heart and just let it flow in, or does it just come to you while you're in the car?
I'm going to tell you that, and hopefully it's a little bit embarrassing, but when I'm relaxing at night and I'm taking my bath, and I sit there and I have all of these thoughts, and I just bring them together. And once I get a thought of one thing, the rest of the poem is coming, and I have to literally get the paper, jot it down, and let it go. And that's how this book came to be. Now there's circumstances, and that's even true as well. There's situations, there's events, there's certain things that happen. Like, for instance, I wrote a poem for my nephew who graduated last year. It's called Hats Off to You.
That's nice. I like that. It's very good.
I'll have to show you. You'd be amazed. And I've partnered with some a local businessman in Michigan City who actually does engraving on my plaques that I have my poems on. And I actually have a picture of a round circle, like a smile face, and there's a graduation cap, and then that poem is within that face.
Wow.
And then you can actually put the date within and all of that as well. And I'd like to expand someday. I have a full-time job, and I really haven't been able to dedicate, everything that I can to this poetry pantry business, and it will come. But I do take, one of my poems is also called Take Me With You, written for my mom. Oh. And now that funerals, when they come to be, then instead of sending flowers, I engrave my poem Take Me With You with the loved one's picture on it.
Oh, how nice.
On the plaque.
So very, very nice. I will find that. I was just, while we were talking here, I was trying to find that because I really and truly would like to have included that. But I will send that to you privately after this is all over with. But it was a tribute to my beautiful bride that it was strange. I met her at my brother's wedding in 1976. She was 14, I was 15, and it was my husband that long as well, Rick. Oh my gosh, the connections. Yeah, I know. It's just very weird, very, very weird, very weird. Now, me being a member of the military, I'm retired Air Force. You have a poem that's actually about a soldier called "A Salute a Soldier." Can you do that one for us, please?
I sure will, and remind me at the end of the show too, because I'm going to send you something. So,
thank you, darling.
I would love to send this to you. Yes, a couple things actually. So, my poem was written on Veterans Day, the year that I wrote this book, and it's called "Salute a Soldier." All right. Salute a soldier and show your support for the sacrifices made. Even lives were cut short. They will always stand tall, even after the fall. Bravery of a soldier will be remembered by all. Salute a soldier. It's the right thing to do for all that's been given for freedom for you.
Oh, that's excellent. Most excellent. Thank you so much for doing that one.
And thank you for your service.
Oh, it was, it's strange. It was the way I got into radio. I think you might have
Oh,
heard,
my gosh.
and that's just it. As far as my senior year, my father got very, very ill. He had a heart attack, and he was in the hospital for a very lengthy time. And all the money that was going for my education, for my advanced education, kind of went to pay the bills and such. And I had the grades, but I didn't wind up getting any scholarships. So I joined the Air Force to become a dumb disc jockey. And here it is, 40 plus years later. I hung up my headphones just a couple of weeks back, and here it is. It was just a wonderful blessing, because so many things I learned in the military, and it makes no difference if there is an individual who I happen to see at Walmart, or I happen to see at a restaurant or something like that that's got a veteran's cap on. I'm going to stop and say, thank you for serving. I did 20 years in the Air Force. When did you serve? And I'll take a few moments to just, hey, thank you. You make a difference to me. You mean something.
That's right. That's right. To all of us. Absolutely.
All right. Now, Tammy, since Valentine's Day is fastly approaching, what is a Valentine's poem that you could throw at us this time?
Yes, there absolutely is. It's called Gesture of Love, and it's roses, carnations, or other flower fancy, dancing to your song, or a heart-shaped box of candy, dinner for two by candlelight glow, or catching a movie of your favorite picture show, a handmade card with your special touch, the gesture of love that comes from the heart and means so much.
Very good. We're going to change gears here, all right? And talk about something that you were involved in that also kind of parallels something that I was involved in. In 2018, you had the opportunity to be part of a movie directed by John D. Hancock called The Girls of Summer, and you got a chance to work in the craft services department as a craft services manager and as an extra. It's a wonderful time on the movie set, isn't it? Can you share any particular tales from that particular time frame?
Oh, yes, I can. And one that you're going to laugh about, it has to do with craft service myself. I went to the library in LaPorte. They were taking applications for, for different roles in the movie. And a lady put a mark on mine, and I didn't know why, but I knew that they would be reaching out. She said they would be. Well, it was for administrative, actually, because that's where my background is, 40 years plus with that. And so I got a call, and I went in and talked to the girl, and she said, "Oh, so you do craft? You do crafts? You've done craft service?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I do crafting." And this, as she looked at me,
oh, totally different. Totally different.
In the movie, crafting is food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's called craft services. Yeah.
But I did a lot of fundraising back in my career as well when I was at those different organizations, hugely. And so they chose me anyway because of my seeking out for donations. So.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so I actually seeked out the food donations from people, and since I had a job, I was able to do this. I did have a boss at the time who did allow me to take off here and there, but the other side of it, when I did the craft side of it, the craft service side, it was usually after working hours, and then I had somebody else that did some cooking along the way too. Wonderful. That they hired on. Yeah. I was grateful, and then I also I had a friend that was with me on that. I also was able to have my great niece be in the last on the last day of the movie. She was in it, and she's actually, you can see us in it. And the friend is now passed, and I was so grateful that she was in it. She knew that she was dying at the time. She had cancer as well, and she was part of the movie, and she's in it. So it just was amazing all the way around, the experience. And John Hancock, what can you say about him? But nothing but the best, because he's awesome.
Where was this filmed at?
This was filmed all over LaPorte County.
Oh,
we were at Heston. I know they went to St. Joe at the time. We were at Decoys in Michigan City. Where else was I? Down at Fox Lake. That's where the last day was, down there, Clear Lake there. So that's where everybody was at that last day when they were playing, and it was just amazing. So I was glad to be a part of it.
I'm
and
gonna
have
I'm gonna share
family friends.
my movie moment and also my craft service moment for you. In 2007, I got invited. Me and about a half dozen dumb disc jockeys from across the country got invited to Burnaby, British Columbia, to the set of Stargate Atlantis for the
Oh,
taping of an episode called Tabula Rasa from season 4, and I was on the scene for probably maybe a half a second, so I can't put it
oh,
in my IMDb profile. So, anyways, my favorite craft service moment. I was sitting across the table from Jason Momoa. I kid you not. I
oh
was
my!
sitting across from Jason Momoa, who played Ronan Dex on the show. And the 6 words that I will never, ever forget, 6 words that I live by today. Hey, can you pass the salt? Sheer poetry. Oh, the
Oh,
man is just so talented. Flutter of an Eye is available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, Etsy.com, iUniverse.com, and you mentioned earlier, Fluttering On is going to be the sequel to this, and
that's
when
correct.
can we expect that one?
I'm hoping to do something with it this year. It's been ready shortly thereafter the first book, honestly, and I probably should have waited and put them both together, but it's going to work out because I'm going to do it as Flutter of an Eye as Fluttering On. And like I said, there's meaning behind it. My mom is fluttering on within us as we're fluttering on without her. And it's about the, coming together, falling apart. I mean, it was all of the things above, me and my 2 sisters and her grandchildren. And, a lot has happened since she's been gone, and how we've gotten through it, and struggles and all. We've still kept her there, and she's been with us right by our side. We know along the way. So.
And as we're getting closer and closer to Valentine's Day, this is a nice little add-on gift too. So I highly recommend you get close to the one you love and give them especially this one, especially if you've lost someone too. It's also a big thing there. How about some links to get in touch with you? I know you're on Instagram, right, and also on LinkedIn.
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Alignable. And I haven't done Facebook yet. It's just there's so many avenues there. And I know that's the biggest one that I hear I should do for the business side of it. And I'm going to have to do that eventually and need to do that. And I would like to get a website. Unfortunately, I don't have one. So I use the Etsy site for that.
Okay.
I had plaques on there for a while back, and then I took them down as sales didn't come through. But saying that, I do intend on putting them back on again, just so people can see what it entails. I mean, I have a poem called "The Walk," which is for a wedding, and you can have your loved one's wedding picture, or mine is of my husband and I's hands holding that together. I have one called "Year After Year" for a birthday, and that's got a birthday cake, and you can also put all these pictures. Personalize them with your loved one's picture as well, and salute a soldier. You can put your soldier, whoever your loved one in the military is or was, and take me with you in impact, which reflects, someone that you've lost. Their picture can be put on them as well. So they're just very, very beautiful, personalized gifts. They really, truly are.
What I'm going to do is, for those of you listening right now, you're probably out in the car or wherever it might be. I'm going to include those in the show notes. So whenever you do have a chance to stop and get a chance to check this out, they'll be included in the show notes. So there'll be plenty of ways for you to reach Tammy Spears. Okay. Any final thoughts, Tammy, before we get to the last poem?
Just that know that you're not alone in your loss and heartache, because we all go through this. It's not, it's everybody that experiences this, and just know that your loved one is always there. You have the memory of them. Take them with you down the road. Cherish life and the many blessings God sends your way as long as you have them. So
awesome, very, very good. How about the final poem? What would you like to feature?
There's a couple of them actually.
All right, well, let's do 2. Let's do a double feature to end the show. What do you think?
Yeah. So when you're in need and you're feeling down and you're going through, that heartache of someone that is maybe sick and dying, always reach for hope. Hope is something we reach for deep down in our soul in our time of need when we feel like there is nowhere else to go. Hope will always be there in your time of need. Faith, hope, and love, 3 of gifts God gave to you and me. Always reach for hope in your time of need.
Awesome. Very good. All right, let's close the show with one more, and whatever you would like to feature would be fine with us.
Okay. Hold on to the memories of your loved one. A memory, whether vivid or clear, no matter how close or far away. It's how we portray our deepest thoughts that are there to stay. A memory of a loved one or a dear friend you can hold in your heart. It will keep you close to them.
Awesome. The book is called Flutter of an Eye. It's available at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, Etsy.com, iUniverse.com. Get yourself a couple hundred copies of this for the loved one on your list. And Tammy, thanks for being a guest on my show. I sincerely do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for showcasing my work.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.